the administration speaking by way of the DOJ to suggest that the actual files being released are sensationalist and untrue. What do they mean by that?
What they mean by that is they don't like what's in the file, so they're trying to distract from it. I mean, let's just look at one instance alone. When you look at the 8 flights that so far we've been able to document that the president was on, he has tried to distance himself from Jeffrey Epstein for years now. It was clear that they had a much closer relationship than he will admit to. And what is so frustrating to so many of us right now is that Americans can handle the truth. We want to see the documents so that we can make a decision for ourselves. And, you know, I want to highlight for you one of the ways in which people connected to this horrible case of Jeffrey Epstein have themselves had their names dragged through the mud. I'm thinking about people like Maria Farmer, who had said, because she had once worked for Jeffrey Epstein, she had said all the way back in 1996 to the FBI, this man has a problem with child pornography. 1996. It took the release of these documents for her to finally be vindicated that, in fact, she did go to the FBI and it was buried. And so we deserve to get the information unvarnished, unfiltered from this release of documents. And of course, the president and his team are going to try to spin it. But just the fact that there were 8 flights that he was on that he did not admit to, there is other material here. And Americans can handle the truth. We want to see the truth.
Americans can handle the truth. Congresswoman, you have an important post on the Judiciary Committee. There has been talk by the likes of Ro Khanna and Tom Massey about holding, and that would be, of course, these are the 2 names on the discharge petition, holding the Attorney General in inherent contempt. Is that something that you plan to pursue on your committee?
So certainly, I don't want to get ahead of my ranking member, Jamie Raskin, but certainly both members on the House Judiciary Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee have strong concerns that we are not getting honest answers from this administration. And I think it is time to have the Attorney General come before us to answer the questions, because she was the one, in fact, that had gone on TV with so-called, binders of names of documents related to the case. And then it turned out that as soon as, we called the bluff and said, OK, let's come forward with the information, all of a sudden she clams up and is not willing to be straight with us. And again, the Americans can handle the truth. What they can't handle is being treated like they're idiots. And I feel like what we've been getting from this administration as it relates to the Jeffrey Epstein case is treating Americans like they are children and they can't decide for themselves by looking at the documents. And of course, we want to redact any names of victims, but the victims who many of us met with back in November, they said, look, we want the information out. Don't tell us that you're protecting us when we're the ones that want the information out. And so it's long past time for this administration to come clean on the president's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
There's a lot of other stuff I want to ask you about, but I'm going to pose a question here that we hear asked frequently by Republicans who are critical of Democrats' posture towards this whole story. This question just arrived from a terminal user. Please ask the representative why they, and I'm assuming he means Democrats, why they didn't care about the Epstein files during Biden's presidency. How would you answer him?
Well, so I want to just be clear with the person who's writing in about that. This is a case for myself and many of us who have been victims of abuse ourselves. And there are people in Congress like myself who have been victims of abuse ourselves. I don't care where the truth takes us. I never have. If it implicates any past presidents of either party or anyone in a position that should have released more information. I want to see it. I want to see the light of day. Mm-hmm. And there were pending cases that were going on under the Biden administration that restricted the amount of information that could be released, but I want it all out. I'm one of those people that says what this whole disgusting case needs is a lot of disinfectant. A lot of very powerful men and some powerful women have been protected, and it's long past time for that to end.
Well, they're going to keep coming out here. Congresswoman, what are you going to be looking for? The next dump and the dump after that?
What I'm going to be looking for is who are those people who are responsible back in 96, back in 2008, that continue to make decisions to give this man, Jeffrey Epstein, and his associates a pat on the wrist. At what point did we know who else was implicated? This was not just one man. There were other people that had to have been involved in abusing all of these young girls and women and covering up about it. And so I want to go where the information takes us. And I fully anticipate it will be powerful men and women across the political spectrum. And I don't give a damn about that. I want these women to finally get some modicum of justice.
Wow. Congresswoman, we got big economic news today, and we were talking about it right before you joined us with Laura Davison. Big spending from consumers. Third quarter GDP came in much stronger than expected, hotter than expected, depending on who you ask here, to the point where there are questions and the president's truthing now about the potential interruption in interest rate cuts because of this. Did Democrats and mainstream economists get the impact of tariffs wrong? What are Vermonters feeling?
Oh, my gosh. No, I don't think they got it wrong, because we're talking about the markets versus what people are feeling at home. What people are feeling at home is they can't afford a house. They can't find an apartment. They have real concerns about the amount of debt and student loans that they're carrying. And so oftentimes this top line information about the markets really does not trickle down to regular people, many of whom don't have these investments, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, many of them here in Vermont. And so oftentimes it's a mixed economic picture. But I can tell you, I've been back in Vermont now talking to, rank and file voters, people who are feeling like things are not in a good place right now. And certainly if you run any kind of small business that relies on imports of whether it's goods or parts that you need for your products, this has not been a good year for you, because you have to either pay for it out of your own pocket or pass it off to consumers. There are numerous businesses that I've talked to in Vermont that may not survive this tariff regime. So it's always a mixed bag of economic information. What I'm most concerned about is what rank and file people are telling me across Vermont. And what they're still telling me is they are struggling, absolutely still struggling.
What are you hearing when you talk to folks who run the resorts like Smuggler's Notch, like Stowe, when you go to the Trapp Family Lodge? Congresswoman, are there Canadians around this season?
A lot fewer Canadians around this season. They are voting with their feet. And it is unfortunate, I'll just say to listeners, it was an unfortunate visit that Secretary Noem made to our border communities months ago, in which she was mocking Canada as the 51st state. And they haven't forgotten that. It was an incredible slight to them. We are one of their biggest trading partners in Vermont. So they're voting with their feet. They're not coming to the resorts. Some people who have come here for decades for the holidays have decided not to come. And it really hurts those, again, a lot of those, certainly the resorts, but the mom and pop restaurants and stores that benefit from that traffic.